Well, hello friends and welcome to Hoenn. For the last couple of years, we have been doing hardcore Nuzlocks on the channel that have primarily been focused on the monotype challenge. Those are very fun, and we have branched off and done other runs such as the No Gen 3 Pokemon here in Pokemon Emerald, and every single one of these Nuzlocks has been fun that we've done. I can't pinpoint one that's my favorite, I love them all. But since we have finished up the monotype challenges in Fire Red and all we have left for monotype runs in Emerald is the fairy type, it's time to start branching out into other ideas. I have a long list of Nuzlocks. You guys have commented a bunch that you want to see, such as Day-Night Cycle, Branching Evolutions, Baby Pokemon, Trade Mons, stuff like that. I do write all of these down, and we're going to start getting into some of those runs. This is one of those runs. Now, with the list that I have wrote down right now, and the way things work out doing a video a week roughly, that's about 50 videos a week. There's 52 weeks in a year. I don't get one every week because of real life. And with the list that I have right now, that you guys have submitted and the monotype challenges, plus the different generations that we haven't even done yet, like Gen 7, Gen 8, Gen 9, I will never do that joke again, that was terrible. Gen 10, that's upcoming. I have over 4 years of Nuzlocke that I can do, and that's not anything new, which you guys are of course going to comment at me right now, right? Go ahead, send me another one. Because we do write them down, I've told people this before, just because you don't see the challenge or the idea you come up with in the next episode, doesn't mean that it's not going to be here. As I say with most everything, eventually. That's trademarked by me. Eventually we will get to it. Now this run right here is one that I've wanted to do for a little while, and I actually saw Flygon do a very similar run where he pitted the Sinnoh starters against one another to see which one is the better. That's a great idea, but I want to take it a step further. Not only do I want to do Sinnoh starters in a Sinnoh game, but I want to do all the games with all the different starters. So if we play a Gen 3 game like this, we're going to play with the Hoenn starters. Eventually, we're going to run the Kanto starters and the Johto starters as well. We are going to come up with an arbitrary point system, too, to rank these different Pokemon. I want to see which one is the better throughout the region, and then hopefully see which group maybe is better. Maybe the Hoenn starters are not solely suited to take on Hoenn. Maybe they're better in Sinnoh. Maybe the Johto starters are better in Hoenn. I don't know. We're going to try to figure that out. The point system that Flygon had in his video was pretty simple. He gave a point for an assist and 2 points for a KO. I want to do something a little bit different. I want to give a point to a Pokemon every time it comes into battle, because you guys know as well as I know, as well as Flygon knows, that pivoting is, well, pivotal. That pun was intended. I'm an adult. I always do intentional puns. Anyway, sometimes bringing a Pokemon in to avoid a specific move or bait out another move is just as important as KOing the next Pokemon, so I want them to have some kind of point system, and I think this is the best way to see which of these 3 Pokemon is going to be better suited through Hoenn. When it comes to these 3 starters, I've played with each one of them in their respective monotypes. Now, the Mudkip line obviously was in 2 different runs, both the water and the ground, and the Torchic line was also in 2 different runs, the fire and fighting. Both of them were great Pokemon, and they were very important to get to the endgame. However, the Trico line was not even used in my final team going to the Elite Four. So I don't expect great things from that Pokemon, but we are going to use all 3 of these Pokemon and see which one's the better. We may be surprised as we get to the latter part of the game. I don't know. I have my expectations for each one of these Pokemon. And looking at the different major battles, it's not looking too good for the Trico line. But as I said moments ago, we will see. Well, let's go ahead and meet the team. Starting out with Trico that we have nicknamed Rocky. It has a mild plus special attack and minus defense nature. The plus and minus of the different natures can be offset with a little bit of EV training, considering these games don't have trainers that have EV trained Pokemon, but the IVs of this Pokemon are not that great. The 30 in speed is, but the 1 in attack, that might not be great as we get to the latter part of the game. There is of course a nickname theme with all of these Pokemon, as there always is. Can you guys guess it? Next up we have Colt. the Torchic with a Brave plus attack and minus speed. Plus attack is great, minus speed is not. Our defense IV of 30 is okay, but again, nothing crazy here. I did randomize all of these 3 Pokemon. We didn't choose their natures, we didn't choose their IVs. Obviously, I would have chose something a lot better for these Pokemon. But most of these Pokemon are going to be inhibited by the lack of physical special split, so we're going to have to pay attention to our EV training. Tumtum is up next with a relaxed plus defense and minus speed nature. Again, minus speed is not great. This thing's got a little bit better spread of IVs, but with some EV training we can offset some things. Mudkip line is not really known to be speedy though, so I will take the nature and we will go forth. I end up always grabbing an HM Mon, but this time instead of nicknaming it HM, I have nicknamed it Emily. Can you guys get the name theme? Emily. Rocky. Rocky loves Emily. Rocky loves Emily. Do you get it? Maybe? I bet you got it by now. The battle with Roxanne is probably where Rocky is going to get the most points it's going to get for a little while. We did teach it Bullet Seed, which is a base 10 damage move, but it always hits twice, so it's just as strong as Absorb. He's going to knock out both of the Geodudes, getting 3 points in total. As the Nose Pass comes out, I'm going to swap into Tumtum, because Tumtum has Water Gun that's base 40 damage, as opposed to the base 20 from Bullet Seed. Plus, Nose Pass likes to go for block, which it does immediately as we come in. That's perfectly fine. I did forget to mention in the clips past that we're only going to count major battles as the point total. We are going to use all of these Pokemon in the different battles from gym to gym, town to town, but those aren't going to count. It is only major battles. So we have 2 points for Tumtum and 3 for Rocky. With the level cap now being 19, we of course are going to have 3 evolutions back to back, starting with Rocky evolving from a Trico into a Grovyle with the levels gained in the Roxanne battle. Very nice. As we're battling the trainers along Route 116, we have another evolution with Colt evolving into a Combuskin. This is a very nice evolution because we gain the fighting type, which is absolutely awesome. Unfortunately, we only get Double Kick as a stab option for a little while. And as we finish the trainer gauntlet on Route 116, Tumtum evolves into a Marshtomp. This is some great bulk added to the team, as well as some much needed attack power for all 3 of our teammates. Pokemon Emerald has 2 different rivals, neither of which we can nickname, and both of them are very easy. So in our head, we have nicknamed our rivals Algorithm because we are trying to beat the Algorithm both in-game and in real life. The in-game Algorithm is going to be relatively easy, and I'm going to fight May at every location that we can battle her, just to add some additional points, as I am counting these as major battles, despite them being easy. The battle with Wally, I'm not counting it. The real-life Algorithm, though, is much more difficult to defeat, and I need your help. How can you help, you may ask? Well, it is simple. You can like the video, comment on the video, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell. Any and all interactions with the channel helps out a ton. Share this video with somebody. All of that helps. It does matter. And continually, you guys have been great doing this, and I thank you each and every week. It has been an amazing run. We have broke 4,000 subscribers, and the channel keeps growing. Without you guys, this would just be me sitting in my basement, talking to my wall, talking to myself, essentially, and it would be kind of weird. But I don't want to get into that, because that's going to be a whole paradox that we don't really want to talk about. We just want to move forward, have fun playing some Pokemon. Again, thank you guys for coming in each and every week and supporting the channel. It's amazing. I can't say it enough. Brawly is up next, and Colt learns Peck, which is a super effective move. We don't get stabbed from it, but it's going to do over half of Machop's health as it goes for a bulk up. A second Peck takes it out, and this brings out Metatite. As long as we attack this thing, it can't attack us with Focus Punch, so 2 Pecks take it out, and Makuhita is the last Pokemon. My strategy here is to go for Focus Energy and then try to burn this thing as it goes for Bulk Up. Ember does a decent amount of damage with a crit, and Vital Throw knocks us down to our Berry. Both of our berries activate as a matter of fact as I continue going for Ember, and he continues to go for Bulk Up. 3 Bulk Ups and 3 Embers later, I switch it for Peck, that gets a crit, and we win. That was pretty lucky, but that's why we went for Focus Energy. The Route 110 May battle is very notorious for ending runs, but if you're prepared, you can get through this. A supersonic connecting is annoying, but we break through to KO the Wingle with the Rock Tomb. Combustion is out next. It is going to go for a focus energy as we swap in Tum Tum. We get outsped and hit with a very weak double kick before doing half with Water Gun, and then she swaps into Lombre. We then pivot into Colt on what is an Absorb, doing very minimal damage, and then Peck does half. Astonish doesn't do anything, and another Peck takes it out. Combustion comes back out last, and we swap back into Tum Tum on another focus energy, and then of course get outsped with another double kick, taking us down to half, and then we knock it out with a Water Gun. The battle with Wattson is almost free because of our immunity to electric type moves. However, his Pokemon are going to outspeed us and do some damage. Rollout does a tick of damage. We do get outsped and tagged with a Leer, which can be a little bit concerning. And then as the Magneton comes out, this thing has Sonic Boom and Supersonic, which it misses the Supersonic, so we go into the Manectric with only one tick of damage. This thing has Quick Attack, so it's going to do some damage, and unfortunately after the Citrus Berry, Mudshot can miss. We also get hit with a critical hit Quick Attack, so we're sitting at 20 HP as we take out the Manectric. We were never in any real danger. Now in terms of points, Rocky is quickly falling off. Looking ahead at some of our major battles, Rocky's not going to do much until the latter part of the game. Flannery and her fire types is no place for a grass type. Norman and his normal types are going to be better taken out by Colt. Winona and her flying types is no place for a grass type Pokemon. Tate and Liza is where Rocky and Tum Tum will probably duet. Colt is of course weak to psychic type, so we're going to try to keep him out of the battle. And then Juan, though he has water-type Pokemon, he has a Celio with Stab Ice moves and a Kingdra with Ice Beam that is going to be nasty for Rocky to deal with, so we have to plan accordingly. And that is what this whole portion of this part of the game is planning for the future battles. We need the Ice Beam TM for Tum Tum to be able to take on Winona, so we need to battle all of these trainers and sell all of our items. We should be able to just eke out $80,000 so that we can buy the Ice Beam TM. We should also try to get as many coins as we can and maybe do some gambling to get the Flamethrower TM for Colt. It's just a better option. We learn Blaze Kick when he levels up into a Blaziken, but it is a base 85 power move with 90% accuracy, so Flamethrower is better all the way around. It's definitely worth the grind. If we look a little bit further into this run, the Elite Four, Sydney and Glacia, both are going to be taken out by Colt. Tum Tum with Ice Beam can take on Drake. Phoebe maybe will be taken out by Rocky. Really, it's anybody's game. She does have a Dusclops with Earthquake, so we have to keep that in mind. And then the Champion Wallace battle is going to be difficult. He has Water-type Pokemon, but he has coverage. Wailord has Blizzard. Melodic and Tentacruel both have Ice Beam and Toxic for annoyance. And then his Gyarados, I don't have anything super effective against it, so I've got to start doing some serious planning. That's of course why I brought you guys in. Let's not count Rocky out just yet, but he is falling off in terms of points very, very fast. Now Maxie and Archie have a huge storyline here in Pokemon Emerald. However, unless you have a weakness to flying type moves, their Pokemon are not that dangerous. Their eventual Crobat is very fast and hits very hard with stab flying moves. This battle is going to be relatively easy. Some swaps around with the team, we can take out her Mightyena, her Camerupt, and her Zubat. There is a little bit of a close call with the Zubat because it has Wing Attack and Colt is the one that has Rock Tomb, but eventually Tum Tum will have Ice Beam, so I'm not going to count these battles as major battles. We're just going to walk through them, do what we have to do for the storyline progression. I'm stepping on my words a little bit there, and we'll make it through. Wing Attack does do a bunch of damage, but we one-shot, and that is the end of this Maxi battle. Though we have Stab, super effective water and ground type moves, does not mean that Flannery is an easy win. A quad super effective water gun does knock out the Numel. It does not knock out the Slugma, which was intentional. It sets up the Sun, and then Flannery goes for a Hyper Potion, which is what I wanted. Water gun for some chip, and then we taught Tum Tum the Dig TM, which is a very good move to have, and we knock out the Slugma. Since the Sun is up on the Camerupt, we're just going to go for Dig. This shouldn't take it out, but it's no big deal. We actually get a critical hit, so never mind, we do one-shot and very nice. Now Torkoal is physically bulky, so we go for Water Gun and gets a crit, which means the second one takes it out and we were never in any real danger. It's a very quick backtrack to Petalburg to take on Norman and his normal types. Against the Spinda, we're going to one-shot with a double kick. I need to put his Pokemon in healing range before the Slacking comes out. Luckily, we don't one-shot with double kick against the Vigoroth, so it's a Hyper Potion, then a Rock Tomb to lower its speed, and a double kick to take it out. As the Lanoon comes out, I know this thing likes to go for Belly Drum, which it does, so we can put it in red health with a Rock Tomb, burning Norman's last Hyper Potion. A double kick takes it out from there, and we are sitting in prime position as the Slacking is going to come out. What I need to do is cheese this battle, so I'm going to swap into Tumtum, who tanks a Facade. I thought it would be a counter. That would have KO'd if it had crit, but now we have this thing in a deadlock. We're slower, so we can just keep clicking Dig, and with the fact that we've burned both of the Hyper Potions after the Citrus Berry, it's just a battle of attrition, taking out the Slacking with a multitude of digs. We have more than enough power points to take this thing out, and we never took any damage after the first Facade. Norman is very cheesable. After the Weather Institute incident, we are forced into a rival battle with Algo on Route 119. Now the Pelipper is flying water type, so it takes neutral damage from Leaf Blade, and it's just setting up Protects, so we're perfectly fine to stay in and eventually take it out with Leaf Blade. As the Combuskin comes out, we could stay in because of the rain, but rather than risk it, I swap into Tumtum on a Peck, and I'm going to take out the Combuskin with a rain-boosted Surf. As the Lumbre comes out, it's a swap back into Rocky to take this thing out with some Fury Cutters. We don't have a good move selection at this point in the game, so we got to make do with what we have. This is going to get a few points in Tumtum's pockets and a few points in Rocky's pockets, since we haven't seen Rocky do much since the third gym. Now that we're in Fortree, we can take on Winona and her flying types. Against the Swablu, we go for Ice Beam, and it leaves it on a Sliver. We get a Mirror Move Ice Beam before Winona uses a Hyper Potion. 2 Secret Powers then take out the Swablu. That Paralyzed didn't matter. Tropius comes out and falls to a Quad Super Effective Ice Beam, and this brings out Pelipper. We don't have good moves against this Pokemon, so I decide to go for Secret Power. After some Protect shenanigans, it's not doing much, and then we get confused. We hurt ourselves in confusion activating our Citrus Berry, so I decide to swap into Rocky. This is dangerous. Pelipper does have Aerial Ace, but it's just going for Protect like it likes to. Supersonic. We never hurt ourselves in confusion, eventually snapping out and knocking out the Pelipper with Leaf Blade. This brings in the Skarmory, so we are going to have to swap, and I am going to bring in Colt. Again, this is very dangerous, as Aerial Ace would have KO'd if it had crit. But a Citrus Berry pulls us almost back up to full health. Another Aerial Ace drops us to 26 HP before we take it out with a Flamethrower. Altaria is going to go for Earthquake here, so it's a swap into Tumtum to tank it, and then we can take this thing out with some Quad Super Effective Ice Beams. We don't quite take it out with one, so it's a heal. Another Earthquake down to 15 HP. Oh my god, that was a very risky battle, but ultimately we came out the victor. And it's at this point that we, of course, have 3 evolutions, as we're heading to Lilycove City, starting with Tumtum evolving from a Marshtomp to a beastly Swampert. Amazing Pokemon. Obviously, look at the score. We're still battling trainers on our way to Lilycove, and Rocky reaches the level of 36, so it can evolve into a Sceptile. I love this Pokemon, truly I do. I wish it was better in this generation. It's just outclassed in every way, but I have plans for this thing in the future. And last, but certainly not least, is Colt evolving into a Blaziken. Not having a script sometimes makes things a little bit difficult, as we've got to shoot from the hip, but we get through these videos no matter. It's not very often that we take on May out front of the department store in Lilycove. I do really want to get Rocky some points here. It's sitting very, very low, so with Aerial Ace now taught, we can take out the Tropius. We have Leaf Blade for her Pelipper, and then Aerial Ace for her Combuskin and her Ludicolo. Might as well grab 5 free points to bring Rocky up to 14 points before we head into the next gym. Colt is also falling behind just a little bit from Tumtum. It's going to have 2 major battles in the Elite Four that it can take on, so it's going to gain some points relatively quick. This is where we've got to make up some ground for Rocky though, so this was a much needed battle, though I don't typically do it. Tate and Liza's double battle format is typically very difficult to plan around. However, I have a plan. We need to take out the Xatu so it doesn't set up too many calm mines and sweep our team. Black Glass's Pursuit does a decent amount of damage, and then is a 14% chance that we don't KO the Xatu, but we get the favorable range and we knock it out. We're tanking Earthquakes in the process. Leaf Blade takes out the Soul Rock. Again, Earthquake is not very effective against Rocky, and Tum Tum tanks them very nicely. A Surf takes both Pokemon to about half. Leaf Blade is going to take out Lunatone. It would have one-shot it from full health. We have to tank one more Earthquake, and actually Surf gets a high roll, knocking out the Claydol, so very nice. It's storyline progression stuff. It's time to wake up the Sky Daddy because your kids are rambunctious and causing a muck. This is not very good news as it does piss off Sky Daddy, and it does walk off very quickly in a rage. The Sky Daddy then quickly descends on Sootopolis to take on his two children by simply yelling stop, and they of course go right back to their respective caves, locations. You know, sometimes that's all it takes is just a look and a stop, and things happen. Juan's team is not going to be too difficult, it's just going to require a little bit of thought and good planning. For the Love Disc, we one-shot with a stab super effective Leaf Blade. Celio comes out and it's a pivot into Colt on an Aurora Beam, and then we should be able to take this thing out with a double kick because of no attack drop. We don't get our hands on Brick Break until after this battle, which we could have used to take out the Celio and the Crawdaunt, but I decided to switch into Rocky to take it out with the Leaf Blade instead. Perfectly fine. It was just going for taunt anyway. As the Kingdra comes out, we hit it with a nasty Leaf Blade and it goes for double team. This thing does have Ice Beam, but we should be able to survive a non-crit. We take it low and it goes for rest with that held Chesto Berry, which is a little bit annoying, and then setting up another double team so it's at +2. We drop it to low health and finally get hit with an Ice Beam to 59 HP before our Citrus Berry, and we break through the +2 evasion to knock it out with a Leaf Blade. Rocky really making a showing here in this battle. Quad super effective Leaf Blade takes out the Whiscash, and that is 8 gym badges in our pocket. Now the team is fully ready to take on the Elite Four. Leading out is Colt with Brick Break, Return, Rock Tomb, and Flamethrower. Next up is Rocky with Solar Beam, Earthquake, Sunny Day, and Aerial Ace. Rounding out the team is Tum Tum with Surf, Ice Beam, Earthquake, and Return. Best movesets I could plan for these Pokemon, and looking at the score at the bottom, it is really anybody's game at this point. I have some plans and thoughts of how this is going to go, but there's no time like the present to take on the Elite Four. First up for the Elite Four is Sydney and his Dark types. We are considerably overleveled at this point of the Elite Four, so even with an Intimidate from Mighty Ina, we're going to be able to one-shot sweep his entire team. Of course, getting the Brick Break TM and teaching it to Colt makes us have a very strong stab, super effective fighting type move. Most of our team can learn Brick Break, and the only fighting move that we would have gotten after Double Kick is Sky Uppercut at level 59, so this move was better suited for Colt. Phoebe and her Ghost types are up next for the Elite Four, and we could have led with any Pokemon in this battle, but I opt to lead with Rocky. We can set up the Sun on the Protect turn for the Dusclops, and then take it out with a single Solar Beam the next turn. Her much more bulky Dusclops comes out, and we don't one-shot it with Solar Beam. It hits us with a stab Shadow Ball, which is perfectly fine, and then its Citrus Berry pulls it out of healing range. We can KO it with one more Solar Beam. Bayonet number 1 comes out and falls to a 1-turn Solar Beam as well, and then as the Sableye comes out, the Sun fades. We need to set up the Sun, and it just opts to go for Double Team. We break through that +1 evasion to knock it out with a 1-turn Solar Beam, and of course her last Bayonet is going to go down just like the first one did to a Solar Beam. Next up is Glacia, and technically she has 3 Water-type Pokemon and 2 Ice-type Pokemon. However, there is a 76% chance that we one-shot the Walrein with Brick Break. We get the favorable range, so it's one-shot City. Colt also had a 67% chance of surviving Surf there, so it was risky, but it was well worth the risk to one-shot sweep Glacia and quickly bring all of my Pokemon very close in point range as we head into the battle with Drake. If Drake wasn't 4th up for the Elite Four, I would say it's anybody's game as far as points are concerned, but you guys know it's going to be a sweep from Tum Tum. After a Protect, we outspeed and one-shot the Shelgon with an Ice Beam, and that is the only Pokemon that we outspeed, so we need some RNG help. Dragon Dance from Altaria is perfectly fine as we drop this thing with a quad super effective Ice Beam. We need to see the same thing from Kingdra, which we do. We switch it up for Earthquake as it does more damage, and then we get hit with a non-boosted Surf. Little bit annoying, but that is okay, as we are going to tank an Earthquake from Flygon, which puts us just at the right health where we should just survive a Dragon Claw from Salamence, which we do on 2 HP. Perfectly fine, we can drop the Salamence, and that was a nice sweep from Tum Tum. Now, we did risk Tum Tum to a crit in the last battle, but luckily RNG was in our favor because it is our lead against Champion Wallace. We can hit the Wailord with a nasty stab Earthquake for over half, and then it sets up the rain. One more Earthquake takes out this huge threat on Wallace's team, and Ludicolo is baited out next. I figure it's going for a Giga Drain, so I swap into Rocky, but it's going for Double Team. Now, it does outspeed us right now because of the Swift Swim ability in the rain. We do half of its health with an Aerial Ace. It's still setting up Double Team, so we bring out the Sun, and then we outspeed and take this thing out with Aerial Ace. This puts us in prime position as Melodic comes out, because we can take this thing out with a Solar Beam. It was a range, but we did get the favorable range. Tentacruel is baited out next with both Toxics and Ice Beam, so we pivot into Tum Tum on a Toxic. That's a little bit annoying, but is perfectly okay. We're outsped and hit with a very weak Ice Beam before one-shotting this thing with Stab super effective Earthquake. This battle is going very well as the Whiscash comes out. Unfortunately, the sunlight fades, so we pivot into Rocky on a Surf, set up the Sun, and get hit with an Earthquake. Normally, Whiscash likes to go for Amnesia, but that's perfectly fine as a quad super effective Stab Solar Beam takes it out. His last Pokemon is Gyarados, which is very, very scary, but I stay in and go for a Solar Beam, taking this thing low, and then it hits us with a Hyper Beam. Rocky gets KO'd, and I don't know which Pokemon to bring in, because Gyarados is locked into the Hyper Beam, so Wallace cannot heal. I opt to go for an Ice Beam with Tum Tum as it ensures the KO. A Rock Tomb from Colt would have done the trick as well. Now, of course, I say this in every single run, but this run was no different. I had so much fun doing it. The starters were amazing to play, and who would have guessed that Swampert, of course, is the best of the three in Hoenn. Now, of course, this isn't a perfect numbering system, but you guys know as well as I know that Swampert is better than all of the Pokemon. What surprised me, however, is in the late game, Rocky doing what Rocky did. We did kind of buff its points by 5 by taking on the rival there in front of Lilycove, so it still would have edged out Colt by 1 point no matter. Colt did fall off a little flat there at the end, but still this team did great. We did lose Rocky at the end, but it was a much needed sacrifice to get through the champion battle, and it was the last battle of the game. I hope you guys enjoyed this run, I hope you guys enjoyed the idea, and I cannot wait to see what other Pokemon do in this region, and of course do this same challenge in other regions. It's not going to be the next video, I said that before, this is just one of the videos that we're going to start sprinkling into the different monotype challenges. As always guys, thank you for the continued support. I do hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, leave a like, leave a comment, consider subscribing if you've made it this far. As always, thanks so much for watching, and I will see you on the next one.